Hi everybody, welcome to our very first Facebook Live. Just to quickly introduce ourselves, some of you might know me already. My name's Ella. I'm the Health and Wellbeing Manager at My Online Schooling, and this is Vanessa, who's our lovely Health and Wellbeing Coordinator. So we're going to start today by just talking a little bit about why we have decided to run our Winter Wellbeing project. Winter is obviously quite a tricky time for lots of people. It's dark, it's cold, or at least it is definitely in Edinburgh. And added to that, quite often there's some added anxieties around the holiday period, such as mock exams in January. Sometimes there can be family conflicts. Sometimes there's anxiety around things like food or presents. So there's lots of different things which can potentially cause some anxiety. We have decided to start off the project looking at exam stress because we know that lots of our pupils at My Online Schooling are going to be taking their mock exams after Christmas in January, and so it might be that some tips and tricks to help manage that stress and that anxiety might come in useful. So the first thing then really is that as parents it can be difficult to know how to support your child, especially when they're stressed, and especially if it's the first time that perhaps they're experiencing this sort of exam anxiety or exam stress. So we want to talk a little bit first of all about some signs to look out for. And Vanessa and I were talking about how lots of the signs of stress can often appear, they don't always appear in an obvious way. Some of the signs we spoke about might be things like change in sleeping patterns, change in eating patterns. I think sometimes when I'm stressed, I definitely feel like my sleeping pattern gets a bit messed up. Is that the same for you?
Definitely. Also, like overeating, undereating, depending on how stressed you are, what kind of stress it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just where you find comfort, really.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes it can come across in maybe being inactive, perhaps being a little bit lazy, and actually the child's just really suffering with that stress, and they're not able to kind of get themselves out of that slump and do something to help themselves. So it's up to sort of us as education leaders and as parents to try to help them with that. I think as well the signs to look out for is any emotional changes in your child. So for example, if they are more emotional than usual, perhaps tearful, sometimes anger or frustration can come out a lot when dealing with stress. Anything like that, any sort of changes in your child, could be them sort of dealing with that stressful situation. And if you know that the mock exams are something which they're worried about, and this obviously, this can translate to later on in the year when they take their proper exams, it's really important to seek support. So some of the support you can find is through the school. So obviously Vanessa and I are always here. The teachers, so if there's a specific subject which your child is struggling with, or perhaps that there's something in particular that you can ask the teacher to help with, or a particular area of the subject, always be in touch with your teacher. They're always happy to help. If you feel that the stress and the anxiety is too much, then it's always a good idea to seek professional help as well. So if you find that some of the signs that your child is exhibiting are really concerning you, I would always recommend seeing the doctor and just explaining some of the stress that perhaps your child is experiencing at the moment. Okay, so that's some of the signs to look out for. Now we're going to have a little think about how we can support the children and support the young people as they go through the holiday period, perhaps having to revise, perhaps worrying about what's going to happen after Christmas. So Vanessa, do you want to talk a little bit about how parents can perhaps offer that support or support a child in that?
So I think first for helping them get their revision set out, so possibly helping them do a revision timetable just to help them have everything set out. It's not as overwhelming, they've not got all these subjects to study and they don't know where to start. Having it set out by priority and little chunks can really help them relax, and it's more manageable that way. Also, maybe if you can chat to them about why they're worried. So they might say like, I'm worried that I'll fail this exam. Why is that worrying you? Like maybe they'll think you'll be disappointed, so you could just reassure them that, do you know what, as long as you try your best, like we're going to be proud of you no matter what, stuff like that.
Absolutely. I think that reassurance is a really important point, actually, because we all remember, or I certainly remember being, sort of in year 10, 11 doing my exams. And actually one of the biggest things that I remember being worried about was letting other people down. It wasn't so much about my own worry about the exams, if you like. It's more the fact that, it's more the fact that you're worried that you might let your teachers down, you might let your parents down, or whatever that might be. So I think that, remembering that reassurance can go a long way in sort of helping your child to kind of feel a little bit more relaxed about that is huge. So definitely, that reassurance is important. A really nice thing to say as well to children that are perhaps struggling with that is reminding them that they can only do the best that they can do. So everyone's different, everyone has different strengths, everyone has different weaknesses, and that's completely fine, that's completely natural and normal. Doing the best that your child can do might be different from doing the best that another child or young person can do. So reminding them that as long as they try their best, that is fine. I think some of the tips we spoke about before, general wellbeing tips, so encouraging good sleep, encouraging exercise, encouraging healthy food habits. We all know how easy it is to snack on, perhaps unhealthy, chocolate and sweets and crisps. I'm guilty as charged with that. But it doesn't always make you feel good. It doesn't always make you perhaps work at your best. So as parents, that's something which can be really helpful. It's just to remind your child to take regular breaks, to eat healthily, encourage them to stop for a full meal, encourage them to drink lots of water. All of those things can really help with them.
And maybe would encourage as well not to revise right up until bedtime. If they're revising right up until the end of the day, they're going to bed thinking about stuff, their brain will be going like crazy, doing overdrive. So maybe stop at a certain time, maybe like 6, 7 o'clock every night, stop, do something nice and relaxing, help them wind down before bed, and just have that chill time before they go to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good point actually, because we all know that if we're doing something quite stressful before bed, then you go to bed and your mind's whirring, and it's really difficult to sort of relax and find sort of some kind of calm. We actually spoke a little bit about relaxation techniques, didn't we, and how we could use them maybe, you can use relaxation techniques for lots of different things, but exam stress and, exam anxiety can be a really useful, relaxation techniques can be really useful there. So things like breathing techniques can be really handy. So, perhaps doing belly breathing, where, you really focus on filling up your lungs and filling up your belly with breath and then letting it all out. That can be really handy to reduce stress and also to help things like sleep. So if you're struggling with sleep, that can be really useful as well. Visualization, so something to talk to your child about can be visualizing success. So, visualizing how you will feel when you finish the exam. So how much relief you'll find after the exam is finished and you can, go and do something nice. And visualizing success, that can be really, really useful. Lots of, big soccer players and all that kind of thing, they often use visualization in their own, careers and things like that. Do you have any other relaxation ideas that, perhaps you could use before bed, or, anything? I suppose things like music can be handy.
Yeah, I think the breathing one as well, like another breathing thing that I've seen quite a few children do, it's quite handy, is the smell the flower, so breathe in through your nose and then blow out the candle, so that's breathing out slowly through your mouth, and it's just that way of getting the child to focus on their breathing, think about what they're doing and slow it all down a bit, just relax.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's so true, I think, because it's very easy to become so overwhelmed by the task in hand. If you're staring at a piece of paper and you've got all these revision notes on there, reminding yourself that, you need to clear your mind and start afresh and relax a little bit can go a long way in helping. I think, leading on from that, revision styles can go a long way, because actually not everybody works the same and not everybody revises the same way. I don't know if you remember how you best revised, Vanessa, when you were younger.
I really like lists, so I write everything down and then highlight in nice fancy colours and stuff like that.
But nice and visual.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I think lists can be good. I always used to do mind maps. So, write something in a bubble and then have lots of things coming off that. My brain worked quite well like that. I know friends that used flashcards when they were revising, so writing down little bits of information and having them to hand all the time so that they can sort of pick them up wherever they are in the house and remind themselves of little bits of information. So a really useful thing to do, and pupils, it's a common misconception that revising comes not naturally to people. Actually, sometimes you have to be taught how to revise, and in their lessons, our pupils will be looking at that. They'll be learning how to take notes, how to revise in the way that suits them. But something that parents can also do to help is to support them in that and allow them to sort of try different things. So especially if your child's in year 10 at the moment, they've got a long time now that they can really try and find some revision techniques that really suit them, ready for their GCSEs. And even if your child's in year 11, they've still got a time now. The mock exams are exactly what they say on the tin. They're practice. It's a time to sort of practice all these different things. So encourage your child to practice different revision styles and see what works for them. Perhaps try getting lots of different colours pens. As Vanessa said, it can be a really good visual technique to have different colours. Even some children like to write riddles. Some young people like to, create connections. So, something reminds them of something else, and that reminds them of something else, and that kind of thing. There's lots and lots of ideas out there. And later today we'll be sharing some more revision tips on our social media to help with that. But it's just something to bear in mind is that not all people will revise the same way. So sitting at your desk for 8 hours a day and writing down notes in bullet points might not be the best thing for that particular pupil. So that's something to remember as well. I think as well the most important tip for me, if it was if I was the person doing the exam, is to remember that exams are not everything. Exams are not the be-all, end-all. I know it's very easy to think like that. I think we all have gone through times, perhaps in high school or in college or university, where you do become, you do perhaps get into that mindset where you feel as though, these exams are the most important thing in my life, and if I fail them, then that's it. And it's not the case. It couldn't be further from the truth. There's so many examples of really successful people who have gone on to be really successful in their field and actually have no formal qualifications. Now, I'm not saying that's the most common thing. Obviously, it takes a lot of hard work, but it's really important to remind your child that they can only do the best, and that the exams are important, but they're not the end of the world. That's a really important point to get across. I think sometimes, perhaps even without meaning to, sometimes as adults we can put pressure on young people to succeed in exams without really meaning to, or without knowing that we're doing that. And so even just a reassurance, a regular reassurance to them that they're doing the best they can and that it's okay. As long as they try their hardest, then you're happy with whatever grade they get. I think that can go a really long way.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Also, as well, if your child does seem particularly anxious about it, maybe reminding them of past success. So, do you remember the last time you were really anxious about such and such, whatever it might be, and actually everything was fine, it all worked out in the end, you were fine, you managed, you got through it, and just saying, like, this will happen again, like, you might be anxious, but it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point, actually. It's almost that kind of grounding yourself in a bit of reality. It's remembering that, sometimes it can be very easy to catastrophize. We all do it. Something is coming up perhaps that's worrying you. It might be a job interview. It might be an appointment for something. Whatever it might be, quite often us humans do catastrophize situations. We think the worst. We always, perhaps are erring on the side of thinking negatively, almost as a way to protect ourselves in case things don't turn out well. And as Vanessa said, it's really important to sort of remind yourself of the reality in that usually all these awful things that go through our head don't actually happen. And so if your child or your young person is really, catastrophizing their exams and saying, I don't know anything, I don't know, the subject, I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail everything, I'm not going to be able to get into university, etc., etc. That is catastrophizing. That is, thinking so far ahead in a negative way, that it's impacting what you're doing now, and actually you can't possibly know what's going to happen in a year, 2 years, 5 years time. So reminding them of that is a really good point. And I think that that's something which you can take in lots of different situations. If your child has anxiety around certain situations, perhaps going out in public, going to busy places, reminding them that that's something that they've done before, they survived, and they can do it again. They're strong enough to do that again. So that's kind of most of our tips that we have for today. Like I say, we are going to be publishing some of these tips on our social media channels later on today. Also, just to remind you, always to seek support. So if your child or young person is learning with us, and you're really concerned about their stress or anxiety around the exams in January, please do let someone know. You can be in contact with your parent liaison. You can be in touch with your child's teachers. You can be in touch with Vanessa and I. Don't sort of suffer in silence, and don't leave things until it's too late. Let us know, because there are things we can do. There are things that we can help our pupils with. It's also important to remember that it's very easy to get sucked into this sort of the exams become everything, and it's important to remember that the holidays are there to be enjoyed as well. So yes, revise over Christmas. Yes, make sure that they set up for the mock exams to begin in January, but please make sure you have time to relax. Please make sure you encourage your children, your child, to do some fun things, and make sure that they are enjoying the Christmas holidays. We all know it's going to be a bit of a different Christmas this year anyway, so that's another thing to bear in mind, is that mock exams and exam stress can be highly stressful at any time of the year, but perhaps this year even more so. So just sort of bear that in mind, and remind your child to sort of do something that relaxes them, do something they enjoy, as well as the revision. Okay, we will finish that there. Is there anything else, Vanessa, you want to add in?
No, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Wonderful. So please do keep a lookout on our channels for the rest of the Health and Wellbeing project over this month. We will be doing lives every Wednesday. Next week we'll be focusing on something, a slightly different theme to exam stress, and we will we'll be advertising that beforehand. So keep a lookout, and we hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you all soon.